The story begins deep within a tribal village, where a few men are seen surrounding and harassing a young girl. One of them sneers, "Look at her, she's still trembling. Let me touch her and see." The girl was a fox girl, her fluffy ears and tail giving her away. But the moment one of them reached out to touch her, she screamed in fear, "Don't touch me." That sudden cry echoed through the air, jolting the protagonist awake. His eyes snapped open as he sat up abruptly, confused. "Who's shouting?" he muttered. But the next moment, a wave of dizziness hit him. Holding his head, he groaned, "Wait, why does my head feel so heavy? Where am I?" Just a short while ago, he had been at home, peacefully reading a novel before dozing off. Yet now, somehow, he had woken up inside that very same novel world. Before he could make sense of it, shouting erupted from outside. The same men were yelling again, the ones bullying the fox girl. One of them cursed, "Damn it, this one was pretending to be dead." Another added furiously, "She actually bit me. Kill her." Hearing all of that only made the protagonist more confused. What's happening out there, he thought, his mind racing. What the hell is going on? Determined to find out, he stepped out of the small hut he had woken up in. And there, right before his eyes, he saw the men from the same tribe. One of them was violently pulling the fox girl by her hair, shouting, "She's just a lowly slave. No wonder Luan despises her so much." Meanwhile, two others were whispering to each other nearby. One of them said quietly, "Luan isn't exactly innocent either." One of the men scoffed and said, "Tell me, what kind of family slave ends up looking this miserable? She's been treated worse than pigs and dogs. Even the toughest woman would lose her mind after all that." Another man nodded in agreement. "You're right. Even I don't treat my female slaves that way." Hearing their words and seeing the brutal scene before him, the protagonist stood frozen in disbelief. His thoughts raced. Wait, could it be? Did I actually transmigrate into a novel? His eyes widened as he looked closely at the girl being bullied. That fox girl, he recognized her instantly. She was the slave belonging to that dead scumbag, Kufo, one of the main female leads from the story. That's when the truth hit him, he had transmigrated it. He remembered everything now. The title of the story was, "The Villainous Heroines Are Obsessed with Me." He had spent 3 days and 2 nights binge reading it, even skipping classes and pretending to be sick just to finish it. And now, he was literally living inside that same novel. Looking at Kufu, his thoughts softened. She's even purer than I imagined. But before he could think any further, one of the men finally noticed him standing outside. "Luan, you're awake," the man said as he walked over. The moment the protagonist heard that name, his entire body went stiff. "Wait. I'm that dead scumbag?" Without giving him time to react, the man shoved a stick into his hands. "Here, take this. You're a runaway slave, your brother caught her for you. Now it's your turn to deal with her." Saying that, the man grabbed the protagonist by the arm and dragged him forward toward Kufu. Seeing what was happening, the protagonist, now in the body of Luan, was completely terrified. His mind went blank as he thought, "Wait, this scumbag only survived for 3 days in the novel before dying. Are you kidding me right now?" Before he could process anything further, a sudden light burst through the sky. A glowing sphere descended, followed by a chubby little system appearing right in front of him. With a cheerful tone, it said, "Hello, host. My surname is Du, and my name is Ding. As your system, it's a pleasure to meet you." The system continued brightly, "Welcome to the world of the villainous heroines are obsessed with me. Since the plot has already begun, I'll make this short. You've become the cannon fodder male character, Luan. Your goal is..." Before it could finish, the protagonist interrupted, shouting, "Wait, what? A cannon fodder male has to reform female villains? Isn't this plot completely broken?" The system quickly replied, "No time to explain. In short, if any female villain's corruption value reaches 5 stars, you'll die instantly." Then, in a serious tone, it added, "Right now, female lead number 1's corruption value is rising fast. If you don't act immediately, you'll die on the spot." Before the protagonist could respond, one of the men turned toward him with a smirk. "Luan, what are you spacing out for? Watch my performance." He then grabbed an egg and hurled it straight at Kufu, hitting her on the head. That was the final straw. Luan's anger exploded. "What the hell are you doing?" he shouted furiously. He rushed forward, standing protectively in front of Kufu, spreading his arms wide to shield her. His voice echoed through the clearing as he yelled, "I dare anyone to touch her again." Not far away, another girl stood silently, watching the scene unfold. Her eyes narrowed as she thought to herself, "He's actually protecting Kufu?" But before the protagonist could even catch his breath, the system's panicked voice echoed in his head. "Oh no, the corruption value, it's rising. Faster, faster." Hearing that, Luan froze. "Wait, what? I'm protecting her, so why is her corruption increasing?" Then it hit him. "Damn, how could I forget? The guy I transmigrated into was her worst nightmare, a scumbag who tortured and humiliated her for years. If he suddenly acts kind, of course she'd think he's plotting something even worse." Realizing his mistake, he muttered under his breath, "Got it, time to change strategy." In a cold, commanding tone, he shouted to the men around him, "She's my woman. I'll deal with her myself. I don't need you bastards interfering. Now get lost, all of you." Hearing the venom in his voice, the men hesitated for a moment before backing away. One of them grumbled, knew it. Luan wouldn't just change out of nowhere. He's just jealous, that's all. Another man laughed darkly. Ha! That poor slave's really gonna suffer now. Meanwhile, Luan kept shouting, maintaining the cruel persona. Stay away from her. Whether she lives or dies, she's mine. If anyone dares touch her again, I'll tear them apart. Khufu, still trembling, glared at him with pure hatred. Seeing that, Luan was taken aback for a brief moment. Then, keeping up his act, he said coldly, Hey, you. Hurry up and get inside. Right then, the system's cheerful voice chimed again, corruption value stopped rising. Well done, host. Keeping up the facade, Luan barked once more, What are you standing there for? Resting already? Do you think I've got infinite patience? Khufu clenched her fists tightly. In her hand, a sharp object glimmered faintly, and blood dripped from her palm. Her eyes stayed locked on Luan, full of anger and pain. But after a tense moment, she finally turned and began walking toward the house. From a distance, another girl named Yani was quietly observing the scene. Watching everything unfold, she smirked slightly and thought to herself, This Luan, he's quite an interesting one. After bringing Khufu inside, Luan kept up his act, barking harshly, Keep up. If you fall behind, I'll break your legs. But Khufu was too weak to move. She tried to stand, only to stumble and collapse to the ground. Seeing her fall, Luan sighed softly. Deep down, he couldn't help but think she looked pitiful. But almost immediately, he covered it up with a loud, mocking laugh. Ha, fine then. This young master will save you properly. Time passed, and the sun slowly dipped below the horizon. As evening arrived, Luan sat down and spoke to the system. Hey, by the way, don't I get some kind of beginner's gift pack or something? The system responded cheerfully, Host currently has 10 beginner points. You can use them in the points shop to purchase gifts. What would you like to buy? Luan frowned. Only 10 points? You've got to be kidding me. Guess I'll have to check later if this world has a first-time recharge bonus. He scrolled through the shop menu and muttered to himself, I can't afford the high-level stuff anyway. Fine, I'll just buy this 2-point women's outfit. Consider it an apology to Khufu, from the new owner. His gaze drifted toward Khufu, who was still lying unconscious. Why hasn't she woken up yet? It's already been 3 days, he murmured. Just then, her eyelids fluttered, and Khufu slowly opened her eyes. The system's excited voice echoed in his head. She's awake. She's awake. Relieved, Luan smiled faintly. Finally, he thought, before picking up a bowl of soup he had prepared. I just finished cooking this, he said gently, holding it out to her. Drink it. But instead of accepting it, Khufu flinched in fear, her entire body trembling. She stared at the bowl as if it were poison. Immediately, the system's warning blared in his mind. Oh no, corruption value rising. She thinks you're trying to poison her. Luan, don't break character. Following the system's advice, the protagonist slipped back into the cruel persona and spoke in a hard, villainous tone. Not drinking, huh? You'll drink this whether you want to or not. I won't have anyone dying in my house. Hurry up. He shoved the bowl toward her again and growled, Your worthless life, if you don't drink, I'll drag you outside myself. Terrified, Khufu took the bowl with trembling hands and forced herself to drink. When she finished, she murmured weakly, What tricks do you still have left? The protagonist snorted, irritation flashing across his face. TCH. So much attitude. Inside her own head, Khufu thought, he fainted because of me before. Now that he's awake, I don't stand a chance. Maybe it's better to end it myself. But who knows how much worse the torture will get before that. Before she could spiral further, the protagonist tossed a new dress at her and snapped, Stop whining. If you die, I'll drag your corpse outside and throw garbage on it. He then placed a plate of chicken and rice beside her. These clothes are for you to wear, and this food is for you to eat. Aren't you grateful to your young master? Not far off, a snake watched the scene with keen eyes. That snake was actually Janae, the girl who had been observing earlier. Slowly, she shifted back into human form, standing silent as she thought, he's still as bad as ever. Doesn't look like he's changed at all. But that day, Janae felt something different about him. No, she thought, it must be my imagination. As long as he keeps abusing Khufu like before, I'll still have my chance. Not far away, 2 other girls called out to her. Janae, let's go pick some fruit together. She smiled faintly and replied, all right. Then, she turned away, leaving the area behind. The scene shifted back to the protagonist. He looked down at Khufu and said coldly, You only deserve this kind of food. When I was a kid, even my dog, got 4 dishes and 1 soup every day. Khufu sat quietly, refusing to touch the meal in front of her. Keeping up his cruel act, the protagonist continued, Look at you, your clothes are torn and filthy. People will think I'm so poor that even garbage pickers become my slaves. How embarrassing. Change your clothes and finish your food. If you leave even a single bite, I'll dump it over your head. Just then, the system chimed in with a warning. Alert. Corruption value increased by 1 point. The protagonist gritted his teeth. Being harsh doesn't work either. Why is making her happy so damn difficult? The system quickly replied, No, host, you weren't harsh enough. She still believes the food is poisoned. Understanding now, the protagonist sighed inwardly. Just how badly did the previous owner treat her for her guard to be this high? Then, staying in character, he picked up a piece of chicken and said aloud, "Oh, there's actually a chicken leg in this soup. Didn't even notice." He took a bite and added mockingly, "You think you deserve chicken legs? It tastes fine, but just looking at you ruins my appetite." With that, he stood up and walked out of the house. From outside, his voice echoed back inside as he shouted, "This young master doesn't even want to look at you." As soon as the protagonist stepped outside, Kufu stared at the food for a long moment. Then, as if her hunger finally broke through her fear, she suddenly lunged forward and began eating ravenously. She devoured every last bite, tears streaming down her face. When she was finally done, Kufu sat there silently, clutching the empty bowl before bursting into quiet sobs. The system projected the scene directly in front of the protagonist. "Host," it said cheerfully, "Kufu's corruption value has dropped for the first time. Congratulations." Watching her cry, the protagonist's expression softened. "Such a cute girl," he muttered. "How could the scumbag from the original story treat her so cruelly? And his name is even the same as mine. TCH, the author of this novel must have been a total pervert." He walked over to a nearby pond and crouched beside it, trying to see his reflection. "Why can't I even see my face clearly?" he murmured. "It's like I'm just a blur. Guess I really am a piece of trash." The system replied in its usual upbeat tone, "According to the novel, your physical description only takes up 52 words in a 6 million word story. Based on our monitoring records, you swiped past that page in just 0.6 seconds. Since you never memorized it, your reflection doesn't resemble a real person." The protagonist twitched in frustration. Who the hell has time to read a whole paragraph describing a cannon fodder's looks? What a waste of life. Unbothered, the system continued, "By the way, host, according to the novel settings, your character doesn't bathe for 3 months straight." The moment he heard that, the protagonist pinched his nose and shouted, "Fine, you win. Can I spend 1 point to buy some shower gel?" The system immediately responded, "Of course. No problem at all." The system chimed in enthusiastically, "If you purchase the shower gel right now, you'll also receive a towel and an exfoliating mitt completely free." Hearing that, the protagonist didn't hesitate for a second. "Deal," he said immediately. Within moments, the system handed him the towel, shower gel, and all the promised items. Then, as he inspected them, a thought suddenly crossed his mind. "Oh right," he muttered. "I remember seeing that 1-point special offer for a medical kit earlier. Give me one of those too." The system replied cheerfully, "No problem," and instantly delivered the medical kit into his inventory. Night soon fell over the village. "By the way, host," the system reminded, "any items you purchase from the shop can be used permanently." Hearing that, the protagonist smiled brightly. "Wow, so generous." As he made his way back toward the house, he asked casually, "Dinner's been delivered inside, right?" The system responded, "Your bodyguard already brought it half an hour ago." Hearing that, the protagonist muttered under his breath and kicked the door open. Then she should have finished eating by now. But the moment he stepped inside, Kufu flinched in shock. She hadn't even finished her food yet. Seeing her startled expression, the protagonist frowned slightly. Why hasn't she finished eating? He wondered. The system quickly explained, "Ah, right. I forgot she's still injured. It must be difficult for her to eat properly." Realizing that, the protagonist adjusted his tone and said, "Sit down and keep eating." Then, switching back into his villain act, he added coldly, "If my dog ever left leftovers, you remember what happened, don't you?" Terrified, Kufu quickly nodded and began eating faster, forcing down each bite in a panic. While she ate nervously, the protagonist quietly opened the medical kit, examining its contents. Seeing that, Kufu grew anxious, thinking to herself, "So now he's found a new way to torture me." The protagonist then walked over and quietly began applying ointment to her wounds. Kufu's eyes widened in shock. The sting from the medicine made her flinch, and panic filled her thoughts. "Just as I thought, he's using poison on me. He's still the same cruel man as before." Meanwhile, as the protagonist carefully treated her injuries, he said in a calm voice, "It hurts, doesn't it? It should hurt." But deep down, he sighed. "There's no point in explaining, it's just disinfectant. Better to let her believe I'm tormenting her." Keeping up his act, he continued applying the ointment and ordered coldly, "Keep eating. Don't stop." Then he grabbed her other arm and added, "Give me your other hand. Every wound needs to be treated." Kufa stayed silent, quietly enduring the pain. By the time she finished her food, the protagonist had also finished tending to her wounds. Standing up, he said coldly, "I've applied the medicine. I'm leaving now." The word medicine stunned Kufa. She had been so sure it was poison. Looking down at her bandaged wounds, she realized in disbelief, it really was medicine, not poison. She tried to call out to him, but he had already left the room. Watching the door close, she murmured softly, "Wait. Isn't this your room?" Outside, the protagonist shivered in the cold night air. "Damn, it's freezing," he muttered, rubbing his arms. Then he smiled faintly and thought, "All right, it's worth it. When she wakes up tomorrow and sees her wounds healed, she'll know what I applied wasn't poison, but something to help her recover. That should definitely make her corruption value drop." But before he could celebrate, the system suddenly interrupted, "By the way, host, I forgot to mention something. Our scoring system is based on two aspects, corruption and affection. A corruption value of 5 means total corruption, while an affection value of 5 means complete capture. Each degree equals around 3,000 points. However, every time you buy something from the shop, it costs points. After using your initial 10 and making your recent purchases, you only have 7 left. Hearing that, the protagonist folded his arms confidently and said, "What's there to worry about? I've been treating Kufa so well. By tomorrow morning, I'll definitely gain some points." The system replied cheerfully, "That's true, host." Night passed, and morning arrived. As soon as the protagonist woke up, a loud shout echoed through the house. "Damn it! That ungrateful backstabber." He stormed around his room, fuming. "This makes no sense. After everything I did yesterday, I should have earned at least 90 points, maybe even 100. But I didn't get a single one." The system's calm voice echoed in his head. "Host, please relax. We've still made progress these past 2 days. Soon, we'll be able to capture Kufa." The protagonist stopped pacing and looked down at himself. The realization hit him, and he muttered in frustration, "Ugh, I stink so bad. The original owner really was a slob. No wonder I'm not earning any points. What kind of woman would like a man who smells like this?" The protagonist grinned and said aloud, "Think about it, if you were Kufu and you saw a clean, handsome guy who's gentle and considerate, wouldn't your heart skip a beat?" The system froze for a moment, clearly taken aback. Meanwhile, the protagonist started searching around the house. "Alright, time to scrub myself clean," he decided, and exchanged 1 point for toiletries. Some time passed. Kufu sat quietly inside the house, watching. Then the protagonist walked in, freshly shaved, tidy, and completely clean. He called out casually, "Hey." Kufu went still, stunned by the change. She managed to whisper, "You're?" The protagonist beamed with pride. "Pretty impressive, right?" Instead of melting, Kufu took several cautious steps back, her whole body going defensive. Seeing that, the protagonist blurted, "Hey, why'd you back away like that?" The system panicked in his head. Not good. Her corruption value is fluctuating again. The protagonist stared, incredulous. "No way. I'm completely clean now. Maybe not world-class handsome, but definitely above average, so why is her corruption value still rising?" The system replied, matter-of-factly, "According to our calculations, her corruption value will keep increasing at a rate of 0.00001 per second. Host, think of something, fast." After a beat, the protagonist smirked wickedly. "Of course, if some beautiful woman suddenly fell head over heels for me, I'd probably suspect she was trying to steal my kidneys too." The protagonist frowned and muttered to himself, "Looks like there's only one way left." Then, raising his voice, he shouted, "Why are you still wearing those ragged clothes? Didn't I already give you new ones? What, you don't like the clothes I picked out for you?" He continued yelling, "Every time I talk to you, you make that gloomy face. Looking at you brings bad luck. Are you trying to defy me on purpose? Do you want the whole tribe to think the Lee family is stingy?" But deep down, the protagonist sighed. Her PTSD is seriously severe. The narrator explained, PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder, is a mental condition that develops after someone experiences a terrifying, shocking, or deeply painful event. Trying to keep up his act, the protagonist barked again, "What are you staring at? Hurry up and change your clothes." Kufu nervously lowered her gaze and stammered, "But I should go prepare food first." The protagonist scoffed, "The food you make isn't even fit for a dog to eat." Then he gently pushed her back onto the bed and said coldly, "You don't need to cook today. Just stay home and reflect on your actions." With that, he turned and stormed out of the room. As he walked away, he grumbled under his breath, "I even used my good looks, and she still won't give me a single point of affection value." Back inside, Kufu quietly watched him leave. Her eyes shifted toward the new dress lying nearby. Slowly, her thoughts drifted back to that moment, when the protagonist had stood in front of her, shielding her from those men. Kufu sat silently, lost in her thoughts, remembering how the protagonist had carried her inside and given her soup to drink. "I'm just a slave who ran away and left my master to die," she thought bitterly. "I should have been executed the moment they caught me. So why didn't he kill me? Why did he give me such nice clothes instead?" Her gaze fell on her bandaged wound. If he wanted to torture me, he could have just whipped me like before. Could it be, he actually feels worried about me? She gently touched the wound and realized, it really did feel a little better since yesterday. But then, her inner voice snapped sharply, "You're done for. Just because the man who bullies you every day didn't hit you today, you think he suddenly cares?" Kufu shook her head. "No. Impossible. A person's nature doesn't change overnight. He must be planning a new way to torment me. The Lee family has never been kind people. I can't fall for his tricks." Her conscience echoed back, "That's right. Stay on high alert. Never trust him so easily." A short while later, the protagonist returned to the room, scratching his head. "Women, right? Maybe if she wears that beautiful dress tonight, she'll feel happy. That should help her affection value rise." But before he could get too confident, the system's voice chimed in regretfully, "Host, I'm sorry to inform you. Kufu's corruption value has increased by another 0.03. The words hit the protagonist like a dagger. He froze, clutching his head with a frustrated groan. Frustrated beyond belief, the protagonist threw his hands up and shouted, "This job is impossible. To hell with it all, I quit." The system immediately panicked. "Please don't, host. If you quit, we'll both die." Hearing that, the protagonist suddenly smirked with a mischievous glint in his eye. He said in a cold, menacing tone, "Hey, girl. Looks like today's your unlucky day for running into me. Serve me well, and I might grant you a quick and painless death." Then, tilting his head slightly, he asked the system, "How was that? Was my performance menacing enough?" The system replied in a hurry, "More than enough. Way more than enough." Lewin let out a dramatic sigh. "No one knows how much effort I put in behind the scenes just to stay in character," he thought wearily. Then he muttered, 2 days. Let's just do this for survival." The system echoed him nervously, "Yes, host. For survival." Later that day, the protagonist returned home, carrying a bundle of firewood in his hands. Not seeing Kufu anywhere, he shouted, "I'm back. Where is everyone? Are you all dead or what?" Startled, Kufu quickly replied, "I'm here." Lewin placed the firewood down beside her and said coldly, "Go wash up and put on the clothes I bought for you. You've been filthy all day, you're embarrassing me." His eyes narrowed slightly as he added, "What's wrong? Don't like the clothes I picked for you?" Kufu quickly shook her head. "No, that's not it, I just..." Before she could finish, Lewin cut her off sharply. "Did I ask you to gather firewood? If your wounds reopen, I'll have to waste more money treating them again." Kufu lowered her gaze timidly, her voice trembling as she replied, I understand." Kufu hesitated for a moment, then softly said, "Then I'll..." But before she could finish, the protagonist, Lewin, lit the fire and cut her off sharply. "Enough. Just go and clean yourself up," he ordered coldly. "You need to make yourself presentable for me." Terrified, Kufu immediately nodded. I'll go right now." As she walked away, her thoughts darkened. So, he really is the same Lewin after all. And here I thought there was hope, that maybe his heart had changed. Her hands clenched tightly as she muttered under her breath, "He'll never change. Never." Meanwhile, Lewin poured water into a basin and said flatly, "Go on, wash." Then, with a mocking tone, he added, "Other people's female slaves have better bodies and prettier faces. Just taking a walk outside is easier on the eyes than looking at you. Who would even be interested in you?" Seeing how naturally cruel he sounded, the system muttered quietly, "Host, your cruelty doesn't even feel like acting anymore." Lewin ignored the comment. After pouring the water, he turned to leave and commanded coldly, "Hurry up and wash." Once outside, he whispered to the system, "So? How was my acting that time?" The system immediately responded, "Excellent, host. Absolutely excellent." Meanwhile, inside, Kufu began removing her clothes, trembling slightly. Her thoughts raced. "He told me to wash myself. Does that mean tonight he'll..." Outside, Lewin sat near the door, looking troubled. Handling just one heroine is already this hard, he thought with a sigh. If the other heroines show up later, I'm doomed. The protagonist leaned back with a sigh, rubbing his temples. The other 6 won't be easy either, he thought grimly. And I can't let them find out about each other, or about their relationships with me. If they do, their corruption values will skyrocket. This is literally a life-or-death balance. The system spoke up in a serious tone, "To maintain world peace, I really have no choice but to help you, host." Lewin growled in frustration. This whole transmigration thing was supposed to be about using cheats, acting cool, and turning the tables, not about becoming a simp. Trying to comfort him, the system replied, "Think of it this way, host. Once you've captured all 7 female villains, you'll command the 7 strongest warriors in the world. That's the ultimate cheat. Isn't that cool?" Lewin paused, then smirked and gave a thumbs up. "You're right. Becoming a simp is just part of the journey. My real goal is much greater than that." Meanwhile, inside the house, Kufu had finished washing. Night had already fallen when she called out softly, "I'm done bathing." She stepped out wearing the new dress he had given her, looking shy and uncertain. "Does this look strange on me?" she wondered, glancing nervously at him. Lewin gave her a cold glance and muttered flatly, "Impossible." But in his mind, he was already scheming. "I'll pamper you even more, far more affection points, and buy you better clothes. Then I'll make you try on nurse outfits, police uniforms, maybe even yoga wear." Kufu, seeing his cold reaction, felt her heart sink. Is he not satisfied? She thought in confusion and disappointment. A little later, exhaustion hit the protagonist. He yawned and stretched lazily. "I'm going to my room to sleep," he said casually before adding, "When you're done cleaning, stand guard outside while I rest." Before heading inside, the protagonist gave one last command. "Protect your master properly." Kufu quietly responded, "Yes." But just as she turned to leave, Luani suddenly stopped her. He grabbed her chin firmly, his gaze cold and sharp. "If I wake up in the middle of the night and don't find you in the room," he warned, "I'll strip you and pin you to the bed." Kufu froze in terror, her whole body trembling. I understand," she stammered. Only then did he release her. "That's more like it," he said flatly. The system's cheerful voice chimed in right after, "Corruption value has stopped increasing. Great job, host. Your explosive acting really worked." Luani snorted, pretending not to care, and walked toward his room. But before stepping in, he turned back once more and ordered, "Leave the buckets and everything else where they are. Don't touch anything. If you mess around and make your wounds worse, I'll have to waste more money treating you." "Got it." "Yes," Kufu answered softly. As she watched him walk away, a faint, bitter smile crossed her face. "So that's it, he's only worried I'll get hurt or die because it would cost him more money. Not because he actually cares." She lowered herself to the ground, tears falling quietly. "Still, that's fine. My escape failed, but at least I'm still alive. Life doesn't feel as unbearable as it used to." From inside the room, Luani happened to glance through the doorway and saw her kneeling and crying softly under the dim light. Suddenly, the system shouted with excitement, "Congratulations. Corruption value has significantly dropped. Reward, 10 points. Shop level 2 unlocked. More products available." Luani's eyes widened in disbelief. Overcome with emotion, he grabbed the system and hugged it tightly, tears welling up in his eyes. Finally, the system spoke in a gentle tone, "Host, you did great." Luani let out a satisfied breath. "Well done," he muttered to himself. "If we keep this up, we'll definitely max out Kufa's affection value." Thinking about her, a faint smile crossed his face. "Silly girl. I'm not the same Luani I used to be. One day, you'll understand. I just want to see you smile, to see you happy." With that gentle thought, he finally lay down and drifted off to sleep. Sometime later, when he opened his eyes, he froze completely. Kufa was standing right beside his bed, slowly taking off her dress. Luani's face turned bright red as he shot upright. What are you doing?" he shouted in disbelief. Kufa blinked innocently. "Didn't you say you wanted me to sleep with you?" For a moment, the entire room fell silent. Luani pinched the bridge of his nose, flustered. "When did I ever say that? Wait, why does my nose feel hot? Don't tell me. I'm about to get a nosebleed from embarrassment?" The system suddenly shrieked, "Not good. Corruption value increased by 0.01. Trying to regain control, Luani snapped, "Have I been too soft with you lately? Look at yourself in the mirror, nothing but bones. Only dogs like chewing on bones, got it?" But inside, he was panicking. "I'm a decent man, okay? And now a woman's throwing herself at me, how am I supposed to resist that? Come on, I'm not some monk. Don't mess with me, I've got procedures for this." Kufa stammered nervously, "But master, your recent attitude, doesn't it mean that you—" "That's your interpretation." Luani interrupted sharply. "You sleep on the bed. I'll take the floor. Separate. Don't try anything weird." He gently pushed her back onto the bed, his tone strict but his touch careful. Kufa blinked in surprise, unsure how to react, her heart pounding as she watched him turn away and settle down on the floor. Kufa hesitated, then said softly, I can really sleep on the bed." Luani scowled, still keeping up his tough act. "You jinx. You scared me half to death. I think I pulled a muscle in my back," he grumbled, rubbing his neck. "This bed's too soft anyway. I'm sleeping on the floor tonight." But inside, he was thinking, I might not be a monk, but if I make even one wrong move, her corruption value will max out instantly. As he lay down on the floor, Kufa nervously whispered, "So tonight, are we still?" "Still nothing," Luani interrupted sharply. "Shut up and sleep." He turned his back and closed his eyes, forcing himself to relax. Seeing him fall asleep so quickly, Kufa exhaled in relief. Great, he's asleep, she thought. A faint warmth spread through her chest as she drifted off. Why do I feel so at ease tonight? But soon, her dreams twisted into nightmares. She saw her village engulfed in flames, screams echoing through the night. A man, likely her father, shouted desperately, "Run! Don't look back, just keep running." Kufa ran, crying uncontrollably. But before she could get far, something struck her from behind. Blood poured down her back as she collapsed, helpless. That night, she was captured, and sold as a slave. Remembering everything, her body began trembling violently in her sleep. Luani woke up, startled. "Kufa? Are you okay?" he asked, looking over in concern. The system's voice echoed calmly, "It's difficult to wake someone trapped in a nightmare." Luani frowned. "Can you see what she's dreaming about? Is it her past?" "I can't see the content," the system replied. "But her corruption value has been increasing for a while, and it's not stopping." Luani sighed deeply, rubbing his forehead. "I actually feel bad for you." For about 3 seconds, he muttered under his breath. Kufa, a noble girl born with a rare foxskin bloodline, had been sold into slavery as a child, forced to endure endless humiliation and abuse. You could probably guess what she was dreaming about now. Luani quietly reached out and brushed his fingers against her face, his expression softening. In the original novel, he thought, it said her foxskin powers were partially sealed because of her childhood trauma. That's why she ended up being someone anyone could bully. His eyes fell on the wound along her arm. "It's still not fully healed," he murmured, carefully opening the medical kit. "If I apply a little more, maybe it'll heal faster." As he gently dabbed medicine over the wound, Kufa flinched even in her sleep, her brows tightening from the sting. She stayed perfectly still, pretending to be asleep. "What is he doing to me?" she thought. "It hurts so much." Then more thoughts flooded her mind. "During the day, he forces me to eat. At night, he insists I sleep beside him. Is all this just to make me lower my guard, before he poisons me? Her anger rose sharply. She opened her eyes slightly, glaring at him through the darkness. If you want to kill me, just do it directly. Why torture me like this? This pain, even a pig would have woken up by now. Her hand trembled as she reached for a sharp object nearby. Luani had already fallen asleep, exhausted after applying the medicine. Kufa lifted the shard slowly, whispering under her breath, if you're going to torture me in my sleep, don't blame me for fighting back. But just as she was about to strike, she froze. Wait, why does it itch so much? She glanced down at her wound and gasped softly. The cut that had been raw and red just hours ago was now almost closed, healing at a shocking rate. Her hand fell limp as realization struck her. So what he said before, it really was medicine. Her chest tightened, eyes trembling with confusion. For the first time, the hatred and fear inside her wavered, replaced by something warmer, gentler. And at that moment, Kufa's affection for Luani began to rise. The scene jumps ahead to the next morning. Luani was still fast asleep when the system suddenly jolted him awake, its voice filled with panic. Get up! The real protagonist has transmigrated into this world too. Startled, Luani shot upright, rubbing his tired eyes. Real protagonist? What are you even talking about? He mumbled. The system practically screamed back, I'm not joking. The original male lead from My Seven Wives Are Big Villains, Tianrui, has appeared here. I picked up a massive energy fluctuation while monitoring the background. After tracing the source, the system added, I confirmed that Ding is the one who brought Tianrui into this world. Hearing that, Luani felt as if the floor dropped out beneath him. His voice cracked in shock. The original male lead? The guy who's stupidly handsome, amazing in bed, and can charm anyone? What am I supposed to do now? Making things even worse, the system anxiously continued, I didn't expect him to act this quickly. With his talent, he'll surpass your progress in no time. Luani's mind went completely blank. Panic settled in as he muttered, I'm already struggling just dealing with Kufu, and now the real protagonist appears? I'm the pervert who bullied Kufu. This is literally life or death for me. The system cut him off sharply. Forget that for now. The most urgent thing is to speed up your progress in winning Kufu's affection. But Luani knew it wouldn't be that simple. He sighed and said, you saw what happened yourself. I can't just rush things with Kufu. If I push too hard, everything could blow up in my face. The system, just as stressed as he was, raised the stakes even higher. But listen, if the real male lead conquers all 7 heroines before you do, the main system will erase us completely. The word erase made Luani freeze. He went silent, staring blankly as the weight of the situation sank in. After a moment of deep thought, he finally exhaled and began to steady himself. Hold on, maybe we don't need to panic that much, he said slowly. After last night, I gained 30 points. That means my approach is definitely working. He continued analyzing, building closeness gives me an edge. And besides, the canon father who was supposed to die is still alive. The original story is already shifting. If Xianri wants to approach Kufu and change her, he'll have to get through me first. Seeing Luani regain his confidence, the system finally relaxed a bit. That's the attitude I want to see. Honestly, I was so flustered that I forgot to even tell you about the points. Luani straightened up, his expression determined. It's fine, I can see the progress myself. We'll tackle this one step at a time. I just need to add something new to my list, be careful of the real protagonist. The system sighed. Alright, fair enough. But neither of them realized someone else had been awake. Not far away, Kufu heard their voices the whole time. There he goes muttering again, she thought to herself. Is he talking to someone? Before she could figure it out, Luani walked over to her. He gently placed his hand on her head and whispered softly, my sweet little fox, sleep well, and wait for me at home like a good girl. And with that, Luani stepped out of the house, leaving Kufu behind. She slowly sat up, completely baffled by his strange words from earlier. Little fox, good girl, she repeated to herself, utterly confused. The scene shifted again, this time deep into the wilderness. Someone was singing loudly in the distance, the voice echoing through the empty forest. And that singer was Luani himself. While gathering firewood, he was already brewing up yet another ridiculous plan to impress Kufu. Next time, I'll bring Kufu out here, he fantasized. I'll stage a beast attack, jump in to save her, and take a tiny scratch so she thinks I risked my life for her. When she sees that, lost in his daydream, he suddenly froze, something was moving in the bushes. He spun around and called out, who's there? I can see you. Come out. He actually couldn't see a thing, but he kept staring into the brush anyway. Before he could panic further, a familiar voice called back, don't attack. We're from your tribe. It was the same girl who had been observing him the other day. She stepped out from the bushes and said, from far away, I heard these creepy cries in the forest, like ghosts and wolves. Turns out it was just you singing. I saw you at the small plaza before. Your name is Luani, right? Luani scratched the back of his head awkwardly. I thought the forest was empty, so I sang a little out of boredom. Did I scare you? Behind her, the two girls with her started whispering. Is that Luani? Same name, right? But aren't people saying Luani is supposed to be ugly, dark-skinned, and sadistic? This guy's pretty handsome, kind of cute, honestly. They spoke quietly, but Luani heard every word. Their compliments made him grin inwardly. Say it a little louder if you want, I don't mind. Then the first girl stepped closer. You've really changed a lot since last time, she said. In her mind, she couldn't help thinking he looked like a completely different person. Sensing an opportunity, Luani asked, by the way, I still don't know your names. The girl smiled warmly and said, I'm Xiao Yuan. Here, these are fresh. We just picked them, they're super sweet. The other two introduced themselves as well, Ning and Jiang Sui. While holding, Luani waved his other hand politely. Oh no, I really can't take that. But Xiao Yuan replied, don't worry. We picked a bunch on our way down the mountain. Go on, try it. You can even bring some back for your female slave to taste. The moment she said female slave, something snapped inside Luani's mind. He cursed internally, reminding himself to stay perfectly in character. Right, she's just a slave. What's wrong with her tasting it? It's not like she's anything special. Activating his full Drama King mode, he straightened his posture proudly. If I'm going to play this role, I'll play it flawlessly. No cracks. That's how a real best actor performs. The system, unimpressed, responded in a dry tone. Host, you're being unnecessarily dramatic. Xiao Yuan turned toward her two friends. Let's head out. The three girls started walking away, but before disappearing into the trees, Xiao Yuan glanced back with a sweet smile. Goodbye, Luani. Luani lifted a hand and waved. Goodbye. As they vanished into the woods, he narrowed his eyes slightly. Wait, am I misremembering? Was there ever a beauty named Xiao Yuan in the original story? The system answered without emotion. Don't ask me. Of the 7 heroines you're supposed to win over, none of them are named Xiao Yuan. You're fair-skinned and clean now. Maybe your new look is attracting extra female characters. Hearing that, Luani chuckled smugly. Now that you mention it, that does sound about right. Afterward, Luani headed home and went straight to the kitchen to prepare a meal. He tried to light the stove but quickly grew irritated. Why is cooking such a hassle? Seriously, the tinder box is empty again. How am I supposed to light this now? Annoyed, he called out, System, give me a lighter. You have one, don't you? The system responded instantly. Yes. 1 point. A moment later, a lighter appeared in Luani's hand. His lips curled into a mischievous grin. As he flicked it on, he whispered proudly. Let these villagers witness the genius invention of a new era, the lighter. But just then, Khufu's voice came from the doorway behind him. I heard you were in the kitchen. Luani's entire body stiffened. He panicked and immediately hid the lighter under his foot. Why, yeah, it's me, he stammered. But, wait. Why are you here? Luani blurted out, still startled. Khufu answered softly, almost shyly, I came to cook. Trying to act completely normal, Luani waved her off. You make your own food. I'm just practicing how to start a fire. It has nothing to do with you. To sell his act, he grabbed 2 sticks and began rubbing them together like a madman. Not a single spark appeared. Khufu simply sat down to the side, quietly observing him struggle. Inside, Luani was dying of embarrassment. Rubbing sticks to make fire, isn't this going a bit too far for a normal human? Damn it. If she thinks I'm an idiot again, will her corruption value increase? Of course, lighting a fire by friction isn't about literally drilling flames out of wood, it's about generating enough heat to ignite something dry. Just then, Khufu stepped forward. Let me handle it. She gently took the sticks from his hands. In an instant, she summoned a small spark with her magic. The flame burst to life effortlessly, and she placed it into the stove. Luani's eyes nearly popped out of his skull. Holy crap, that's incredible. Khufu remained calm. My power hasn't fully returned yet, but I can still create a spark like this. Luani was completely stunned. She used magic. Actual magic. This is real. Does something like this even follow the law of conservation of energy? He muttered excitedly to himself, practically bouncing. I mean, I knew this world was fantasy, but seeing magic with my own eyes, this is insane. Overwhelmed with curiosity, he tugged lightly at Khufu's sleeve and asked, that hand movement you did, do you also have to chant something? Like an incantation? Khufu shook her head. No. You just focus your power and align it with your will. Luani's excitement skyrocketed. That's amazing. So you always light fires like this? Doesn't it burn your fingers? Khufu blinked in confusion. No. It doesn't. But Luani was on a roll. Does this ability cost anything to use? Can I learn it? How do you even learn magic? Oh, wait. Can you only use fire? Or can you control water, ice, lightning too? Holy crap, that's incredible. This is totally eco-friendly. No wonder you don't need technology when magic exists. Every word went straight over Khufu's head. She stared at him silently, thinking, I have no idea what he's talking about. Khufu glanced at Luani again, and for the first time in years, her heart gave a tiny, unexpected flutter. Why do I suddenly think he looks a little cute? But her inner voice immediately snapped at her. Are you out of your mind? Cute? Don't forget how many years he tormented you. Startled by her own feelings, Khufu stand to her feet, trying to shake the thought away. He's a deviant. Everything he's doing now is just an act. Meanwhile, Luani was deep in thought, serious for once. How do you even concentrate energy like that? The system cut in, host, skills can be exchanged through points. As Khufu quietly cooked, part of her mind stayed fixed on Luani. He really has been acting differently these past 2 days. At the same time, Luani asked the system, so, can I exchange for that too? Khufu, still lost in her own thoughts, murmured to herself. His attitude toward me is still cold, but he hasn't hit me or humiliated me. He even put medicine on my wounds and let me sleep on the bed. While she was thinking that, Luani continued questioning the system. So what skills can I buy right now? The system answered, you currently have 46 points. For 45 points, you can purchase the skill Danger Premonition, which gives you a 10-second warning before danger occurs. Luani frowned. Only 10 seconds? What's that even good for? The system added, skills can be upgraded later. Luani sighed. Still too pricey. I'll save it for another time. The scene shifted back to Khufu, who was stirring the pot, but her mind wasn't on the cooking at all. He looks kind of handsome now. And he even smells good? Her cheeks heated up at the thought. Luani noticed her odd behavior immediately. Something's wrong. The pot's boiling over, and she keeps boiling again and again. Don't tell me, is she about to get corrupted again? I need to do something fast. An idea popped into his head. Got it. He grabbed the watermelon the girls had given him earlier, walked over to her, and said, Khufu, look. She turned to him, eyes landing on the fruit. A honeydew melon? Where did you get this? Luani answered casually. When he went out early this morning to gather firewood, he happened to run into a girl from the tribe picking melons. She smiled, handed me one, and said, it's really sweet. The moment Khufu heard that, her eyes narrowed sharply. A girl gave it to you, she asked coldly, her mind clearly running wild. So now that he's looking a little better, he goes out and starts flirting? Girls just lining up to hand him melons now? Luani didn't think much of it. He spoke casually. Of course. Don't women love picking fruits and flowers? Anyway, keep this melon for lunch. Big guys like me don't like sweet stuff. Lucky you. That only made Khufu's temper spike. I don't want it, she snapped and turned back to her cooking in anger, shocking him. Panicking inside. Luani frowned. I give you something, and how can you refuse? He dropped the melon on the table, then turned to leave. This kitchen's too greasy. I'm stepping out. Make something decent for me. Outside, Luani finally let out a sigh of relief and sat down. System, how was that? Did I time my exit right? Things are still under control, right? But the system answered with concern. Something's off. I detected a huge emotional fluctuation from Khufu, but it's not corruption. If it's not corruption, then everything's fine, Luani said. The system hesitated for a moment before murmuring, but still, this emotion feels odd. I can't identify what it is. Meanwhile, back in the kitchen, Khufu stood over the table with her cheeks puffed out in irritation, glaring at the watermelon as if it had personally insulted her. A melon from another girl? And he just accepts it so casually? Seriously, he'll take anything anyone hands him, won't he? Under the intensity of her stare, the melon practically looked like it was shrinking away in fear. Outside, Luani sat down with a frustrated sigh, staring at the system interface floating in front of him. This whole panel feels empty, and I barely have any points. How am I supposed to rank up like this? The system tried to reassure him. Patience. Once the 7 villainesses start appearing one by one, you'll have more chances to charm them. Points will come easily soon enough. Luani's expression brightened instantly. Oh, right. If I work on all 7 at the same time, the points should stack like crazy. His mind immediately drifted into a fantasy, 7 powerful female leads surrounding him, each one feeding him corruption points like an endless stream. But then another scenario flashed through his head. What if all 7 show up, and decide to kill me together? The thought made him shiver. He shook his hand quickly. Nope. Forget that. One Khufu is already driving me insane. Dealing with 7 beautiful women. He swallowed hard. That's practically a death sentence. He really didn't want to deal with all this unexpected good fortune. The scene transitions to Tribe Plaza, where a crowd of villagers gathers around an elder. With a firm voice, the elder announces, this winter will be the same as always. The female slaves will handle cotton picking, while the male slaves go out to hunt. All the women will be watched by our wolf tribe warriors, 2nd level and above. This elder is none other than Elder Sufu. Just then, Yenny strolls in, clearly searching for Khufu. He glances around and mutters, where's my precious Khufu? His eyes land on her. Ah, there she is. He throws her a playful wink, but Khufu simply turns her head away and stomps off with a pout. Luani freezes in disbelief. Seriously? I even gave her a whole watermelon yesterday. How long do I have to keep acting like the villain here? Why is winning a woman's heart this difficult? Building a harem in web novels is way easier. 5 days later, Luani is sitting on the stairway, looking miserable. All the female slaves have returned from work, except Khufu. He grumbles under his breath, you'd better explain what happened. I'm not leaving until you do. Elder Sufu overhears him and snaps, you annoying brat. Didn't I already send people to look? Go home. So? Did you find anything? The elder's expression darkens. He calls out for a guard. A guard jogs over. Elder, did you need me? Elder Sufu asks, this man's female slave, Kufu, she hasn't come back. What happened out there? The guard shrugs lazily. How should I know? She had a nasty temper, so the others avoided her. She worked alone in some corner, and then she vanished. I heard some of the women say someone from the dark tribe dragged her off. Luani's eyes widen in shock. He grabs the guard by the collar and roars, she was kidnapped and you didn't think to mention this earlier? You were supposed to be protecting them. The guard rolls his eyes. My job was to make sure they weren't slacking. If she got left behind, that's on her. Besides, she's just a slave. If she dies, buy another one. She's not some priceless treasure. Hearing that, Luani explodes. Fury surges through him, and he slams his fist across the guard's face. The guard fires back with equal fury. You idiot. I ought to beat you senseless. You can't protect anyone. The two of them crash into each other again, fists flying as the fight breaks out in full force. Around them, the villagers whisper among themselves. With Kufu gone, the Luani family won't be able to contribute anything this winter. No wonder he's furious. Elder Sufu shoves himself between them, shouting, enough. Stop it. Break it up right now. Off to the side, a girl murmurs, well, he's on his own now. That kid can't afford another female slave anyway. After some struggle, the elder finally separates the two. Luani glares at the guard and growls, Kufu was taken, she's not dead. I'm going to bring her back myself. He storms off, while several villagers snicker behind him. She's just a slave, isn't she? Look at him acting all heroic. Does he think he's some future king or something? Later, back at Luani's small home, he tears through his belongings, searching for anything he can use as a weapon to rescue Kufu. The system speaks up. Although your presence has altered parts of the storyline, Kufu's abduction still happened. If you rescue her before the original male lead does, you'll take the advantage. Luani finally finds a sturdy wooden staff and smirks. Perfect. Don't worry, I've got this. Meanwhile, at the city gate, a young man stands waiting. He, too, possesses a system like Luani. He asks calmly, you said you detected another system user in this world. Who is it? The system replies, I can't pinpoint it yet, but it's most likely the male villain side character of the original story. Shi Tianrui's expression darkens. Luani, the useless master who owned Kufu, was supposed to die a few days ago. Yet he's still alive. Could it really be him, who got another system? His system answers confidently, Master, relax. Even if it is him, he's insignificant. It's common for the plot surrounding side characters to shift a little. The main storyline still centers around you. Shuren lets out a low laugh. Why would I be afraid of him? Once I rescue Kufu, I'll take her away from that cruel master who only knows how to treat her harshly. I'll shape her into someone gentle and obedient. The system adds, Luani does nothing except yell at and hit Kufu. In a way, he's making it easier for you to win her over. When you think about it, Master, you truly are the chosen protagonist. Meanwhile, Luani suddenly sneezes, loud enough to echo through his small home. Who's talking trash about me now? He grumbles, rubbing his nose before going right back to preparing for Kufu's rescue. Night falls. A dim, cold light seeps into the entrance of a cave. Bats cling to the rocky ceiling above. Inside, Kufu lies in a crude wooden cage. A droplet of water lands on her cheek, waking her slightly. Chains of restraint bind her tightly, and several women of the dark tribe stand around her, watching like predators circling prey. The narrator explains. When a race commits an unforgivable sin and is punished by the heavens, its descendants become the dark tribe, abandoned by the gods, forsaken by the light. Unwelcome anywhere, they roam endlessly in shadow, sinking deeper into eternal darkness. One of the dark tribe women clutches her stomach with a grimace. Ugh, I'm starving. Her gaze slowly drifts to Kufu. I can't hold it anymore. I'm dying of hunger. Just let me slice off a little piece of her, just enough to keep me alive. But the another girl snatches the knife out of her hand. What's your hurry? I know you're hungry, but endure it a bit longer. Look at this girl. She traces the flat of the knife along Kufu's cheek, dragging it slowly downward before stopping. A twisted smile curves on her lips. Do you see this? We've caught something precious this time. With a body this shapely and skin this smooth, hacking her up with a knife would be a complete waste. Just breathe her in. I haven't smelled such a clean, rich scent in years. The leader chuckles. Back when I was young, I had a face just as pretty and a scent just as sweet. The women around her grin hungrily as they stare at Kufu, but Kufu remains silent, expression blank, eyes steady. Then, something flickers. A fire lights up inside her eyes. The scene shifts again. In the village, Luani finishes gearing up for the rescue, determination written all over him. But before he can leave, Elder Sufu blocks his path. The dark tribe is always lurking outside the city, the elder warns. You're planning to venture out alone, at night, without even a single warrior to protect you? Meanwhile, the tribe's elder scolds our hero, warning him that the shadow tribe is always lurking near the city and that wandering off alone is basically suicidal. But he brushes the warning aside, insisting he doesn't need help from the same warriors he personally defeated not long ago. The leader then presses him, asking why he'd go so far for Kufu when he never liked her to begin with. With confidence, the protagonist answers that he has a very solid reason for rescuing her. Suspicious, the elder demands to know what reason could possibly be that important. Inside, the MC knows he needs to stick to his villain persona, so he chooses the most selfish excuse he can think of. With a smirk, he declares that Kufu is his slave, and if anything were to happen to her, his reputation would take a huge hit. The elder gets irritated at his arrogance, but the protagonist just shrugs it off, claiming his honor matters more than anything else. Luani then cuts in sharply, telling the elder to stay out of the situation and threatening him once again. The leader stops him again, offering to give him a new slave as a favor to his late father, but the protagonist immediately refuses. Even he's caught off guard, realizing he never expected the elder to treat him with such generosity. Ignoring every warning thrown his way, he turns his back on the village and heads out, the floating system bobbing behind him like a nervous companion. He ventures alone into a bleak, shadow-covered wasteland, determined to track down the hideout of the Shadow Tribe. As he steps deeper into the darkness, a sudden chill crawls up his spine, his instincts screaming that this place is far more dangerous than he thought. "Luani, shout, who's there?" after no reply that instantly puts him on edge. He stiffens, scanning the emptiness, trying to pinpoint the source of the threat. Sensing the growing danger, the system urges him to buy the Danger Premonition skill, insisting it could save his life. But Luani grumbles that 45 points is ridiculously overpriced and would drain all his remaining resources. He even tries bargaining for a discount, but before he can finish, something dark and shapeless materializes in front of him. In the very next moment, several shadowy figures lunge at him, forcing a startled yell out of our MC. Under the pale moonlight, all that's visible are streaks of crimson slicing through the air. Then everything cuts to black. Our hero jolts awake, irritated by the sound of dripping water, mumbling about which one of his dorm mates should get up and check it. But the second he looks around, the realization hits, he's not in his dorm, and absolutely nothing about this place is normal. Surrounded by darkness in a strange room, panic starts building as he tries to figure out where he is. He shouts for his system, desperate for any kind of explanation. It finally appears with a cheerful ding, congratulating him, because he's just been captured by the story's second major villain. To make things worse, the system warns him that she's already on her way. Terrified, he frantically searches the room for an exit, complaining that there isn't even a tiny hole to squeeze through. Suddenly, he hears footsteps approaching fast. His senses spike, she's coming straight for him. And then, without any warning, a woman bursts out of the darkness and leaps directly onto him. The moment he gets a clear look at the new woman, our boy is practically speechless. Her beauty hits him so hard that he can't help thinking, yeah, I could definitely get used to this. She gently strokes his cheek, leaving him even more confused, and he blurts out why someone labeled a villainess is acting so soft and affectionate. With a warm smile, she tells him he woke up at the perfect moment, then casually drops a bomb. She wants to have his baby. The unexpected confession leaves him frozen in pure shock, unable to process what he just heard. Without hesitating, she begins preparing herself for exactly what she has in mind, while he panics and starts scooting backward. Desperate, he tries to stall, saying something like this requires the right setting and the right mood. He even suggests they should take things slow and get to know each other first, all while secretly panicking at the thought of Kufu showing up at the worst possible time. Right then, the system chimes in with an urgent warning: her corruption level is skyrocketing. Great. Another high-intensity villainess added to his growing list of problems. Before he can think of a plan, she shoves his cloths with surprising strength. He raises his hands, trying to calm her down, claiming he's experienced and she should give him a second to explain things properly. She pauses and looks at him seriously, asking if he really knows what he's talking about. Thinking fast, he lies and says it's more of a technical skill, and they should go over the theory first before jumping into anything. But she immediately rejects that, insisting she'd rather skip straight to the practical part. After all, her parents were together for only one night, and that was enough to make her. Her bluntness startles him, and before he can react, she pushes him flat onto the ground again. As she leans over him, she suddenly asks if he has any siblings, then wonders aloud why she herself was born an only child. She seems genuinely lost in her own thoughts, questioning her parents' choices. He tries to improvise, explaining that everything needs to happen at the perfect time or else it won't work properly. Meanwhile, he's screaming internally, terrified that Kufu appearing now would completely destroy the mission. The system backs him up, reminding him that none of the villainesses can know about each other at this early stage. The woman slides even closer, her voice soft but intense as she asks him to explain what exactly the right time and place would be. Curious, he asks if her parents truly loved each other, and she nods, confirming that their love was genuine. He goes on to explain that only people who truly love one another can have children, and since she and he just met, they should focus on falling for each other first. Thinking quickly, he invents a theory: when a man's heart is full of feelings, his energy and strength are amplified. Her eyes light up at his explanation, and she admits she knew she'd picked the right person. After all, he seems to know so much. With determination, she moves even closer, clearly intent on claiming a part of him for herself. Our hero flushes bright red, flustered beyond belief. He stammers, asking if she even heard a word he just said, but she simply confesses that she likes him. She goes on to reveal that her feelings began when she saw him protecting the slaves, leaving him stunned. He realizes she witnessed the moment with Kufu. The doing system hovers nearby, utterly baffled, unable to make sense of the escalating situation. She reassures him that it doesn't matter if he likes her less, she'll just double her own affection, and it will all even out in the end. Then, a dark reddish aura begins to emanate from her, wrapping around him and pinning him in place. He yells in panic, asking what she's doing. With a playful, mischievous grin, she announces that they'll follow his instructions, but it's time to start practicing immediately. She lunges at him, ready to pursue her desires, clearly reveling in the chaos and his immobilized state. Embarrassed and desperate, he protests, insisting it's not right for her to be so forward, and pleads if they can switch roles. Noticing the flush creeping across his face, the girl teases that her mother always said blushing is a sign of love. Panic immediately floods our hero. He hadn't expected to be caught off guard from this angle, and the realization leaves him internally panicking. She asks if he's shy, promising she'll be gentle, which only makes him more flustered. Suddenly, he feels pressure building and struggles, trying to push her away. He insists he doesn't need any gentleness, warning that his primordial power might erupt at any moment. But she ignores his protests, leaning close to whisper in his ear, praising how warm his body feels. As she moves in for a kiss, he can't help but wonder, can a villainess really be this seductive? The doing system floats nearby, frantically warning him not to be deceived by appearances. Yet, the expression on his face betrays that he's completely surrendered to the moment. The woman presses forward with her intentions, explaining that her mother taught her the optimal moment to act is in the heat of passion, and she's certain tonight will be perfect to accomplish her goal. His face turns crimson as he realizes she clearly knows far more about this than he does. She challenges him with a mischievous grin, claiming that if he's truly a man, he'll last longer than 30 seconds, then she begins a teasing countdown. Her advances grow bolder, and the protagonist feels himself losing control, trapped in a situation he can no longer manage. In a mix of desperation and resignation, he finally decides to give in, admitting to himself that he's about to do something reckless. With that, the two finally dive into their unexpected business, but the doing system immediately chimes in with a warning. If he has a child with her, she'll likely trap him until the baby is born. To make matters worse, the system reminds him that he still has a mission to complete, a cold splash of reality that hits him like a punch to the chest. Panicking, he pulls back and tries to reason with her, saying that anything too rigid breaks easily and that she'll have to take responsibility for the consequences. The villainess tilts her head, completely baffled, unable to make sense of his cryptic words. Ding sighs, admitting it hates being powerless but reminds him he has to consider the repercussions. The system presses the point further. Kufu is still waiting for him. Finally, the hero snaps out of it, muttering that he'll think of a solution. The woman relaxes slightly, asking if she bit him too hard. Frantically, he searches his mind for a way to handle her relentless determination. Suddenly, he remembers something crucial. Her tribe absorbs the partner's energy during moments like this, and if he doesn't eat first, it's game over. Thinking fast, he desperately shouts that he's starving and needs to eat immediately. Shocked, the woman apologizes, realizing she nearly caused his undoing by forgetting to feed him first. The guy smiles victoriously, and the doing system congratulates him on his absolutely brilliant idea. The villainess then gets up and tells him to wait there while she goes hunt something for him to eat. And just like that, the girl vanishes from the cave in the blink of an eye to get food for her beloved. He thinks about escaping, but Ding warns that if she comes back and he's not there, he's a gone. In despair, the protagonist says he's doomed if he runs and doomed if he stays. So, he sits down with the system and asks for help finding a weak spot in the villainous past. In the forest, the woman finds a massive tiger and immediately prepares for calm. The wild beast roars and lunges at the girl, but she isn't even fazed by the animal's attack. With a single punch, the young woman shows off her absurd strength and takes down the creature that attacked. She then breaks off a tree branch and says she has no time to waste and needs to get back quickly to feed her man. And then she returns with the tiger and asks which part of the animal he preferred to eat. But after looking inside, she got totally shocked. If you want to know what happens next, how protagonist earns more affection, and what the snake lady will do, then make sure to subscribe for the next part. I've already covered the latest chapter here, so stay tuned for part 2 as soon as new chapters drop. Don't forget to hit that like button, 100 likes and I'll upload the next part even faster. Until then, check out the 4 crazy manhwas showing on screen right now. Trust me, you'll regret skipping them. See you in the next video.